You ever get a package in the mail and it's, completely swaddled in layers and layers of that clear plastic bubble wrap?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
You pop a few bubbles, it's satisfying, sure, but ultimately, it's there for one very specific reason. It exists to keep whatever is inside perfectly safe.
Right. It cushions every single blow. You could drop that box down a concrete flight of stairs and the contents survive totally intact.
Exactly. But imagine if you tried to wrap yourself in bubble wrap before walking out your front door every morning.
I mean, you would be totally safe from scraping your knee on the pavement.
Sure, but you also couldn't really feel the wind against your skin. You wouldn't be able to feel the warmth of a hug or, feel the texture of a coffee cup you tried to pick up. You're completely insulated.
Yeah, it would be complete sensory deprivation, all entirely in the name of playing it safe.
And that is exactly what we are doing with our words when we rely on one specific, highly overused, four-letter word. We are wrapping our communication in conversational bubble wrap.
We really are.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a really fascinating program called Talk Emma, specifically an excerpt titled Beyond Very, The Path to English Fluency.
And our mission today is to explore how eliminating just one tiny word, the word very, can completely transform the way you communicate.
Right. So if you're listening to this right now, whether you're learning English as a second language or honestly, if you're a native speaker who just wants to make your communication more powerful, you're going to discover why we constantly fall back on these safe words.
And more importantly, how swapping them out can completely change the way people react to you.
Because a massive leap in fluency doesn't actually come from memorizing a giant, dusty grammar book. It comes from replacing that bubble wrap with words that carry real emotional weight.
It's about moving beyond the cold mechanics of language and, stepping into the psychology of how we actually connect with one another.
Okay, let's unpack this, because right out of the gate, I want to push back a little bit on the premise.
Oh, sure.
Isn't the whole point of language just to be understood? I mean, if I tell someone I am very tired or that my lunch was very good, the other person knows exactly what I mean.
Yeah, the data transfers.
Right. The data has been successfully transferred from my brain to theirs. Why fix what isn't broken? If the bubble wrap keeps a package safe, why would I ever voluntarily take it off?
What's fascinating here is the psychology behind why we use it in the first place and what we secretly lose when we do.
Okay, go on.
The source material points out that learners, and honestly native speakers too, use the word very, primarily because it never feels grammatically wrong.
Yeah, it's an incredibly simple, mathematically safe formula.
Exactly. You just stick very in front of whatever basic adjective comes to mind, and you have built a structurally sound sentence.
It's like a linguistic safety net. You literally cannot mess it up.
Precisely. But that comfort zone is exactly what keeps a learner sounding like a learner, or keeps a speaker sounding entirely forgettable.
Oh, that's interesting.
Native speakers, when they are speaking naturally and passionately, rarely rely on very. They don't walk out of a mind-blowing cinema experience and say, well, that movie was very good.
Right. They say it was brilliant or fantastic.
Or incredible, yeah.
But wait, if people know those words exist, and we know from the source that learners actually do recognize these words when they hear them in a show or read them in a book, why don't they use them?
Well, because the real conflict isn't a lack of vocabulary. The real conflict is the fear of taking a risk.
The fear of choosing the wrong word.
Yes. Think about it. If you use the word exhausted instead of very tired, you suddenly introduce the possibility of making a mistake.
Like mixing it up with drained or something.
Right, or using it in slightly the wrong context. That fear of choosing the wrong nuanced word prevents people from stepping into true fluency.
Oh, I see. It's like standing at the edge of a high dive. You know how to jump, the water's right there, but stepping off feels terrifying because you might smack the water at the wrong angle.
I really like that analogy.
So instead of jumping, you just climb back down the ladder where it's safe. You retreat to saying, very tired.
That is a perfect way to look at it. You prioritize your own internal feeling of safety over the external impact of your message.
Right.
You are technically communicating the data, yes, but you aren't connecting with the person standing in front of you.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because when you look at the sheer difference in power between a two-word phrase using very and a single strong adjective, it is staggering.
It really is night and day.
Like, I was thinking about it like this. If I walk inside and tell you it's very cold outside, I am basically just reading a weather report to you.
Yeah, you're handing them a piece of data on a clipboard.
Exactly. But if I walk in shivering and say, it is freezing, it's like I suddenly turned on the air conditioning in the room. I force you, the listener, to actually feel the chill I'm describing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, stronger words fundamentally shift communication from stating plain information to painting vivid sensory pictures.
And human brains are biologically wired to remember pictures and stories, right?
We absolutely are. We are not wired to remember raw data. Information fades from memory almost instantly.
So when you say freezing, or as the text suggests, icy or bitter cold, you aren't just giving them a temperature reading.
Right. Bitter cold almost suggests the weather has an attitude, like it has a hostility to it.
Yeah, you have to brace yourself against it.
Exactly. You are handing them a sensory experience. Feeling will always overpower mere understanding in the human brain.
So once we recognize that this desire for safety is holding us back, we have to look at the practical tools to break out of this trap.
And the source text gives us 10 specific areas where we can upgrade our lexicon.
Yeah, and looking at them, they aren't just random vocabulary words. They seem to fall into these distinct categories of human experience. Let's start with our physical limits.
We just talked about the weather, but what happens when you come inside from that bitter cold? You might say you are very hungry.
But the source tells us to swap that out for starving or famished.
Think about the cognitive shift there. Famished makes it sound like you have been wandering across a barren desert for days.
It adds a necessary touch of drama.
And human language really needs a little bit of drama to come alive. It elevates the stakes and makes the conversation dynamic.
And it completely changes the narrative of your physical state. It's the same thing with the end of a long day. The classic, universally overused phrase is, very tired.
Oh, we say it every Friday afternoon.
But the upgrades the text provides are exhausted, drained, or worn out.
Notice how each of those replacements forces the listener's brain to visualize something specific. Drained makes you picture a battery that has been completely emptied of its charge.
Yeah, or worn out evokes the image of an old pair of shoes that have walked 1,000 miles.
And exhausted tells a complete story of intense effort and total depletion.
That is the key difference right there. Very tired is just a biological fact. Exhausted is a story, and stories always sound more fluent.
They really do.
Okay, so if our physical states are stories, what does that make our emotional states? Because we use the bubble wrap there all the time, too.
Oh, absolutely. If someone gets a promotion, we say we are very happy for them.
But the swap here is thrilled, delighted, or overjoyed.
The word thrilled operates on a completely different frequency than very happy.
Oh, so?
Well, when you look at someone and say, I am thrilled for you, there is a deeply human vibration to it. It conveys an active, buzzing energy.
It shows that your happiness isn't just an observation from a distance, it's a shared experience.
Exactly, it's radiating.
What about the darker emotions? Instead of saying you are very scared, the text suggests terrified, petrified, or horrified.
Look closely at the root of the word petrified. It literally means to turn to stone.
Oh, wow, yeah.
You are painting a visceral picture of someone who is so completely gripped by fear that their muscles have locked up and they are physically unable to move.
Very scared just tells me that your heart rate might be slightly elevated.
Right. But petrified puts me right there in the dark, terrifying room alongside you.
Wait, I'm noticing a pattern here. If I use these words, I am basically forcing the other person to physically react with me.
Yes.
Like with the next one on the list, very surprised. The upgrades are astonished, stunned, and speechless. Stunned literally implies you've been physically hit by something.
Like you have to stop and catch your balance.
Exactly.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
These words demand empathy because they describe physical reactions, not just mental states.
It makes the listener lean in because it sounds truly deeply felt.
Which brings us to one of the most powerful emotional swaps in the text. Moving from very angry to furious, livid, or enraged.
I feel like furious is a word that does all the heavy lifting for you.
It absolutely does. If you look at someone and say, I am furious, you do not need to explain yourself any further.
The word itself carries so much weight that nothing else needs to be added.
Right. It effectively closes the conversation because the emotion is so definitive.
Like a verbal stop sign.
Totally.
So we have our physical states, we have our deep emotions. The last area where we constantly fall back on very is in our everyday assessments of the world around us.
Ah, yes, the absolute classic.
The most overused combination in the English language. Very good. The text says to swap it for excellent, brilliant, or outstanding.
And consider the mechanics of making that specific change. It takes the exact same amount of breath and the exact same amount of physical effort to say excellent as it does to say very good.
But excellent lands so much harder. It signals that you are entirely confident in your assessment.
It's the difference between giving a restaurant a polite little golf clap and giving it a standing ovation.
We do the exact same thing with aesthetics. We comment on every vacation photo with very beautiful.
But the upgrades are stunning, gorgeous, and breathtaking.
Breathtaking is a brilliant example of what you mentioned earlier, forcing a physical reaction.
It is quite literal. It takes your breath away.
Yeah.
It is 10 times more powerful than saying very beautiful.
Because you aren't just assigning a passing grade to a landscape.
No, you are describing how that landscape fundamentally altered your respiratory system in that moment.
I never thought about it that way. You're describing an involuntary reaction to beauty.
Exactly. And the final one from the text list is fittingly very important.
The swaps are crucial, essential, and vital.
When you tell someone that a piece of information is crucial, you are actively demanding their attention.
You are looking them in the eye and saying, do not miss this under any circumstances.
And vital implies survival. Think of vital organs or checking someone's vital signs in a hospital.
So if you say a meeting or a project is vital, it implies that without this specific thing, the entire system is going to fail.
It completely changes the stakes of the conversation.
It really does. You are no longer just sharing an opinion. You are defining the reality of the situation.
You are choosing precision over safety.
So what does this all mean? We have explored how the brain processes these words, and we know that swapping out the bubble wrap for precise language forces a stronger reaction.
But what actually happens in the real world when you start doing this?
Right. The source material tells this specific, deeply relatable anecdote that I think perfectly captures the end goal of all of this language hacking.
Oh, the story about the speaker choosing to use exhausted.
Yes. The very first time they consciously chose to use the word exhausted instead of very tired in a real face-to-face conversation.
They had just finished a remarkably long, grueling day, and they were actively trying to put this theory into practice.
Exactly. Someone asked how they were doing, and instead of giving the default, perfectly safe, mathematically correct response of, I'm very tired, they took a risk.
They stepped off the diving board.
They looked at the person and said, I'm exhausted.
And the listener's reaction wasn't just a polite passing nod.
Not at all. The listener physically stopped what they were doing. They looked at the speaker, showed deep, genuine empathy, and asked, are you okay?
This raises an important question. What does the word fluency actually mean to us?
We so often equate fluency with passing a written test or having perfect grammar.
Or speaking with a flawless, undetectable native accent. We think it's about hoarding a vocabulary of 10,000 obscure words.
But the text reveals a much deeper, much simpler truth. Fluency isn't about the size of your dictionary.
Not at all. Fluency is simply about choosing the right word at the right moment to transfer a feeling from yourself to the person listening.
Transferring a feeling, not just transferring data from one brain to another.
Exactly, because when feelings transfer successfully, that is when genuine connection happens. That is the massive leap from mere communication to actual human connection.
Saying you are very tired successfully communicates a fact. It's data.
But saying you are exhausted reaches out and connects you to the other person's empathy. The ultimate goal of language, of any language, isn't to sound smart. The goal is to be felt.
To summarize all of this, look, using the word very is not inherently wrong. The grammar police are not going to kick down your door and arrest you.
It's perfectly fine.
But fine is safe, and safe keeps you exactly where you are, wrapped up in that protective plastic bubble wrap.
Unable to really touch the world around you and unable to let the world touch you.
Stepping into words like crucial, thrilled, and stunning, that is what makes people stop what they are doing and actually listen to you.
It demands attention, and it makes you sound incredibly confident.
It absolutely requires a bit of vulnerability to drop that safety net. Because when you use a stronger word, you are asking the listener to care.
But the reward on the other side of that risk is clarity, immense impact, and real connection.
So here is our call to action for you, listening right now. You have these specific concepts.
You know that physical facts like cold, hungry, and tired can become vivid stories like freezing, starving, and exhausted.
You know that emotional observations like happy, scared, surprised, and angry can become shared experiences like thrilled, petrified, stunned, and furious.
And you know that casual judgments like good, beautiful, and important can become powerful declarations like excellent, breathtaking, and crucial.
Start making those swaps today. Do it in your head when you're just observing the world on your commute.
Do it out loud in your next conversation, at work or at home.
Because as the source so beautifully points out, what feels strange and risky today becomes natural tomorrow.
And what is natural tomorrow becomes completely fluent next week.
It really is a remarkably small shift in your daily habit that results in a massive, noticeable shift in how you are perceived by everyone around you.
Absolutely.
And I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. We've talked a lot today about language learners using very as a crutch.
A way to stay safe while navigating the terrifying waters of a new vocabulary.
But whether you are actively speaking a second language or whether you are communicating in your native mother tongue that you've spoken since birth, what other safe conversational habits are you relying on in your everyday life?
What other verbal bubble wrap are you walking around in right now?
A bubble wrap that is secretly preventing you from being truly heard and deeply felt by the people around you. Think about taking off the bubble wrap. See you next time.